In the summer of 1914, Europe was standing on the edge of disaster. The great powers Britain, France, Germany, Russia, and Austria-Hungary were trapped in a web of alliances, pride, and fear. The world looked peaceful on the surface, but beneath that calm, tension was ready to explode. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, visited Sarajevo with his wife Sophie. The city was filled with excitement, but among the crowd stood a young man named Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist. As the royal car passed, Princip fired 2 bullets. One struck the Archduke, the other his wife. Both were killed. No one could have imagined that this single act would trigger the deadliest conflict the world had ever seen. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia for the assassination and issued an ultimatum. Serbia accepted most demands but refused some. Backed by Germany, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia mobilized to defend Serbia. Germany declared war on Russia and soon after on France. When German troops marched through Belgium to reach France, Britain entered the war to defend Belgium's neutrality. Within days, the entire continent was at war. The early months of the war were filled with confidence. Young men rushed to enlist, believing the war would be over by Christmas. But what followed was 4 years of unimaginable horror. The Western Front became a nightmare of trenches, mud, and death. Soldiers lived like ghosts underground, surrounded by rats, filth, and the constant roar of artillery. Millions died for a few yards of land. The first modern weapons were introduced: machine guns, tanks, poison gas, and airplanes. These inventions made killing faster, easier, and more terrifying. The Battle of the Somme in 1916 alone cost over 1 million casualties. It was no longer about glory or honor. It was about survival. While the soldiers suffered in the trenches, civilians faced hunger, fear, and loss. Entire cities were destroyed. Families waited for letters that never arrived. Women entered factories, replacing men who had gone to fight. The world changed forever, not just on the battlefield, but in homes and hearts. In 1917, a major turning point came when the United States entered the war, bringing fresh troops and resources to the exhausted Allies. That same year in the East, Russia collapsed under the pressure of revolution, and the new Bolshevik government signed peace with Germany. For a moment, it seemed Germany might win, but by 1918, the tide turned. Germany's people were starving, its soldiers broken, and its allies surrendering one by one. On November 11, 1918, at 11 a.m., the guns finally fell silent. The armistice was signed, ending 4 years of destruction. More than 16 million people were dead, and empires that had ruled for centuries, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, Russian, and German, were gone. But peace came at a heavy cost. The Treaty of Versailles punished Germany harshly, demanding impossible reparations and humiliating terms. Many historians believe that the anger and despair created by this treaty paved the way for another, even more devastating conflict, World War II, just 2 decades later. World War I was called the War to End All Wars, but it didn't end war. It changed everything: technology, politics, society, and the way people saw life and death. It marked the end of an old world and the beginning of the modern one. When we look back at 1914, we see how fragile peace can be. How one moment gunshot in Sarajevo can ignite the whole world. And we remember the millions of lives lost, not just in battle, but in the silence that followed.